did know earlier in the week, it was a great quote by the Duchess of Cambridge.
Oh, yes.
About play, and actually play is a crucial element of early childhood development. And she said that play is like bodybuilding for the brain. So there you go. I actually quite like that quote. So yeah, crucial time of life, crucial interaction, and even more crucial for those who are on the edge and marginalised.
Yeah, brilliant. So Winnie, how did you realise that the 30 buildings that we support, despite many being rebuilt and refurbished, couldn't come close to meeting the need for the children in Chakatu?
Yeah, thank you, Esther. Yeah, we realized that the 30 buildings couldn't meet the needs of the children in Chaka because the children are really many. And they were being so much congested in those buildings. And they were not picking the concept that was being passed on to them. So they were really so many, so congested. And that's why we had to come up with this cluster learning so that we could have a one-on-one. The teachers, the caregivers could have smaller groups and get closer to the children and then decongest those, the buildings. And something else, we needed to reach out to the children who couldn't get to the buildings, and especially the disabled children in the communities. So we saw we really needed them. And these are the children who are on the edge that we really needed to look at. So we had to come up with this program. Much as we had the structures, we had the buildings 30, but we saw we really still needed to go beyond that so we can grasp and get down to those children who are really in need, who are really on the edge, that are being left out from the structures. Yeah.
That's brilliant to be able to just think beyond what we have already. I know Children on the Edge is all about trying to reach the most marginalised, the children that are open. So that's really exciting.
Thank you.
So Philip, on to you. We all need to say congratulations to Philip because he is a dad again for the 3rd time yesterday, new baby boy. So we're all very excited with Children on the Edge. Congratulations, Philip.
Thank you.
The person on the ground who is making this all happen at the moment. So any of the video and the photos you see coming through, usually that's Philip taking them, and he's just been absolutely instrumental in getting this all going. So Philip, how does the cluster learning model work, and how does it start to solve the problem of these many children that are missing out on early years education?
Thank you so much, Esther, and good evening to everyone who has managed to take the time off tonight and be part of this. I really appreciate. With this mode of cluster learning, we took the facilities out of the equation. We arranged the learning in small groups around what we refer to as cluster points, and we try to create these wherever the children are. In most cases, these are in people's homes, in their compounds. These are church sheds. These are under the trees. Any place, so long as the area is identified and the area is safe for the children. These children stay in the community. They are taught by the community members. These are referral refugees who Children on the Edge Africa has tried to train in the course we refer to it as community child care. The learning takes place for 3 days of the week, that is between Monday and Wednesday. This teacher will have to meet the learners in groups of 10 to 15 for 1 hour. So he does this in a round form, meets 10-15, 10-15 go, then another group comes in. So we had gazetted that these 3 days, Monday, Wednesday, we attach a particular age group to a day. Say Monday could be for those between 3 to 4, then Tuesday could be for those between 4 to 5, and so on. So the remaining 2 days in the week, that is Thursday and Friday, we reserved these days for the teacher training because we understand that the quality of teaching gets better if you empower these facilitators, the different cluster points. Then to make sure that there is smooth running of the study point, we elected a committee of parents. These we termed them as the Cluster Learning Management Committee members. And basically, these are there to oversee the day-to-day running of the study point. It is a 4-member committee with a chairperson, a vice chairperson, a secretary, and 1 member. So their service is 100% voluntary. They are not paid. These are parents having children at these study points, and they took up this mantle to make sure that there is smooth running of activities at these study points. These members also ensure safety of learners at the study point. If you look at the vice chairperson, he is again our focal point for child protection at this study point. And they also help us in mobilizing the community in order to embrace cluster learning. So this cluster learning is accessible to any child. We don't discriminate. Anyone is free to join in. It has no fee attached to it and doesn't depend on any building. If you can recall, parents previously, when we still had buildings, they are reluctant to send their children to a classroom, maybe due to things like lack of money, lack of clothes, books. These are the items they are going to use in schools, like the crayons and the pencils. And also the fact that some of these buildings were very far away from their homes. So walking back and forth could really be very hectic to these learners. This program is 100% sustainable. It is genuinely sustainable in that we don't pay the teachers in this type of arrangement. What we do, we extend a simple loan and a business saving support to the teachers, such that the little money they raise from this activity they're able to take care of themselves. Basically, that is what I can tell you briefly about the program, Esther. Thank you so much.
That's really helpful. Thank you, Philip. We've got lots of people saying congratulations in the chat, including Nikki, who is currently nursing her 9-day-old while watching. So congratulations, Nikki. And we've got some questions coming in, which we will get to later. We're just going to run through a few questions for the panel, and then we'll make sure we've got lots of time for you to ask your questions as well. Gemma, what are some of the ways that we'll be assessing how well the children are developing through the programme as they start to learn?
Well, for the pilot, we adapted a standard Ugandan child development assessment tool. So we're using that to measure various aspects of children's development at the beginning and the end of the pilot. And we're also testing a control group who were not included in the pilot. So this should show us whether and how much difference the model makes to children's development. Some of the things that we assessed were language, relating with others, understanding children's environment, their own environment, numeracy, motor skills, taking care of themselves physically, confidence, behaviour and feelings. And for the rollout post-pilot, we're working on a tool that was originally created for assessing children's development in the classroom, which was developed by our colleague Sarah, who leads on curriculum, along with external experts in early childhood development assessment and our teacher training consultant. So Sarah's going to be adapting that for the cluster learning model. And we are also speaking to parents, teachers and the cluster management committee members at 6 monthly focus group discussions so that we can gather rich data on perceptions of children's development that the assessment tools can't provide.
Brilliant. Thank you, Gemma. Then also we have recently won a Their World Education Innovation Award, which sounds very fancy, for this model. What does this mean for us as an organisation, and how has it helped shape the way we're working at the moment?
Thanks, Esther. Well, firstly, it is really fancy. It is. Their World are a really well-respected organisation, actually. It's Gordon and Sarah Brown, you know, the ex-Prime Minister. He and his wife have set this up. And so to receive an award from them is a feather in our cap, actually. It's a real, within the industry, it's just an indication that you're doing a good job. So on that level, it's an opportunity, I guess, for us to pat ourselves on the back, perhaps, if we were into that, which isn't really our thing, but it is a bit of kudos. But it's a bit of money. We get to fund a bit of the program with it. But what's been really wonderful, really valuable actually, is their whole focus is on how you take a good idea and turn it into something that can be used in lots and lots of places. So how you can scale it up. So, you know, Children on the Edge, we really focus on doing high quality work, the best that we can do in any location. And their world have come along and said, we think that's awesome what you're doing. Let's make it scalable. Let's do that. So we've been getting together every week for 3 hours every week, a group of us from the UK and a group from Uganda. And we've been learning. Actually, it's been a bit like school. We've been in lots of seminars on how to scale, lots of different things. It is quite tiring, but I'll say it's been really helpful. And we've been able to look at all the different aspects of this program, maybe some things we haven't thought about, and then look at how we can take this idea and scale it. I will add, as well as all the learning, which has been brilliant, my absolute favourite bit of it is that I get to spend 3 hours a week with the Ugandan team. And so we've been chatting to Philip and to Solomon and Gladys and others. We've been having some jokes. We've been getting to know each other. And by learning together, I think it's made us a stronger team. It's been a lot of fun. So I can see Gemma and Philip nodding there. And we have our little... We have our little private jokes, and it's kind of fun. We have a bit of banter, but we're also learning about how to make this program, which is brilliant. And I will say that I think it is a brilliant program. It is highly effective, and it can do a lot of good. We've just been learning how to make that bigger, how we can get it out to more and more children.
That's fantastic. If I can go back to Rachel. So we have an hour to chat about cluster groups this evening, which is exactly how long each lesson is each week. What can be achieved in that short amount of time, and how can we involve parents to keep learning?
You hear me?
Yes.
Going on, I think we've got some connection issues, but if you can hear me, that's good. Firstly, I just want to congratulate the KYAKA team, because we've not managed to get out here to see the program for the last 2 years. And the last 2 days, I've spent my time going around the cluster groups, and they're much better than I expected them to be. I probably shouldn't say, but it's, you know, it's quite early days in this program, and we've had some teething problems. But actually, to see what's going on, I think a lot is lost in translation between the UK and here. And actually, they're doing tremendously well. So it's been an absolute delight and joy to see the cluster groups in action. So thank you, KYAKA, for all that you're doing. The reason that, I mean, you can do with a young child, I'm sure anyone who's got young children will know, they haven't got a huge, you know, the attention spans are not huge. So an hour is actually a very long period of time. So you can do an awful lot in an hour, learning bits of, you know, important concepts in 10 minutes, doing some songs and dances, having some fun. But really the idea of the hour, and each child only goes for 1 hour, and that's because the sheer numbers of children. We will try and get our heads around it as the program develops to see if we can offer more than 1 hour per child per week, but at the moment that's all we can do. So it's teaching key concepts within that hour, and very importantly, trying to engage the parents and the community, so that when the child goes home and is home for the other 4 days of the working week, that their parents can engage in their learning. So that's a slow process, and we call it, out here, we call it a community sensitization process. So it's the slow process of talking to the community, explaining about child development, explaining why it's so important, explaining why the children's learning is so important, getting them to come to the actual cluster groups if we can, and then them just those, you know, what goes on in an hour, what's really important is they just learn 1 or 2 key concepts. And then they go home, and the idea is that the parents get involved and help them, you know, develop and learn those concepts, and they come back the next week and they learn some new ones, and they get repeated. So the fact that there are 4 days after their 1 day of 1 hour lesson means that the lessons they're learning can be repeated and repeated and repeated. And we make it fun. It's not, the parents don't have to sit down with them at a little table and learn. The learning is integrated into their daily and family life. So one of the ones that I visited today, they were doing the numbers 1 and 2. and learning and different ways of learning 1 and 2. So lots of creative ways of, you know, this is 1 of this is 2 of this. And then there was another one that was shapes going on. So a parent in a house can, if they're learning the shape of the triangle, can find an object in the house, which is a triangle, and try and reiterate that lesson day on, you know, each day of the week. So I think the word we use, I think it was Judith Gallimore actually, when we were chatting with her, who I think maybe here this evening, is mastery of a few skills. But, you know, they're young children. So the main aim is just to have them in an environment where they can play and communicate, an environment that's stimulating, where they learn new things, where they're exposed to new things, and just come home with 1 or 2 key concepts. But the parents learn what those concepts are that they're learning and help them integrate that into their daily life, and learn it over the course of the week, and come back, repeat it, and then go on and learn something else. And they're having such fun. And what is wonderful is how they're using the local materials as well. So it's bottle tops, counting with bottle tops. There are bottle tops in the family home. Drawing in the dirt to sticks, counting with sticks. So, and they've made these sticks and things very colourful. So the lessons they learn in that 1 hour really can be, you know, cemented in, as it were, for the rest of the week before they come back for the next lesson. But a key part of this program is, you know, the children should be able to learn a lot of these things within their own environment, within their own home, within their own community, and the community engagement is so huge in that.
That's brilliant. Thank you, Rachel. And Winnie, I know that you've got a vision for the future of this model. What do you think it's going to look like over the next 3 to 5 years in Uganda in your work?
Yeah, our vision is to see that every child has access to education. And since education can't wait, so we would love to see, our vision is to see that this model goes through all the regions of Uganda in 3 years. And by the time we get to 5 years, we are out of Uganda. We should have made an assessment to other countries in need, especially Congo. If you hear what is happening in Congo, you see there are so many children on the age that need that, actually. So we go out of Uganda by the end of 5 years. But here we have to see that most children access education. And we cannot do it in isolation. After this model, we would love to share with other partners who are doing early childhood development as well, and who are into sustainable programs like this one of the model. So we can combine efforts and move all through the country, such that every children on the age can't move around the entire country alone. So if we share our model with other partners, we shall be able to reach out to every child, and every child will have access to education, especially those who cannot access the buildings. Yeah.
That's really exciting.
Okay. Oh, we're going to Congo.
Excuse to Rachel. No, we love the big vision. Absolutely. Philip, Rachel was starting to describe a little bit some of the fun and excitement of the cluster groups that she's seen today, and obviously you are seeing them in action all the time. Can you describe to us a little bit what the environment's like and how the teachers make a simple outdoor group fun and engaging?
Yeah, thank you so much, Esther. I have shared a couple of videos and some pictures on this. And you could see that most of the study points that we are having are basically under tree shades within the community. So in the videos that maybe you look at, you see that the caregivers sometimes arrives early at the study point and then prepares for a lesson. Comes at around 8 or 9 in the morning. Then he cleans around, lays down a sitting mat for these learners where they are going to sit. When you look at, we had provided some sort of a simple bag, a backpack, where the caregiver carries these learning materials that he's going to use on the day. Rachel has mentioned of the locally made materials like the bottle tops, like the sticks, which are painted in bright colors, the old newspapers. these are things that the teachers creatively transform into these beautiful learning materials. So it's also amazing that the learners also take part in the creation. When Rachel was around, we were able to see these learners making ropes using the leads on the bottle tops, which is very, very beautiful. So it is very engaging. When you are there, you cannot resist the temptation of joining in when they are dancing, when they are singing songs on the alphabet, talking about things in their home. So it is very exciting to be part of this, and I think the videos don't do justice to what is taking place. They exactly, Rachel has been there and she has seen this with her eyes. She can, I think, tell you more about this. But to be honest with you, it is very exciting. The environment is very electric, I'll tell you.
That's brilliant. There's only so much you can pop in a video, I guess, but we did all enjoy the Dark song, and I think, well, it's lovely to see them all jumping around and to see how it's evolved from just kind of groups of children sat down under a tree, and then over the course of the months you started to see all of these colourful materials come in, loads of singing and dancing and jumping around, which is brilliant.
To say that even with the KYAKA team that I've travelled with from Uganda office, which is quite a few hours away from here, they haven't visited for a few weeks, and I could see they're exclaiming how much change had been in those few weeks, how there'd been real progress in some of the groups. So that was, yes, it really is going forward very well.
That's wonderful. Over to Ben. You've been dreaming up some exciting new ways of learning using tablets and digital apps. Can you tell us a bit about this and what they can add to the children's learning experience?
Yeah, of course. I love a bit of technology, but our goal is always just really high quality education. And so that's why we're talking about learning through play and loads of other elements too. But technology can help, especially when we're looking to scale. And we've been really privileged to be working with Lenovo, who've funded a bit of our work, but also donated some tablets. And particularly, I think, through lockdown and through coronavirus, you learn lots of new ways of dealing with things. And there's been lots of innovation coming around. So we've been looking at that. I'd say it's only part of the program. It's not the main innovation. But we've been looking at how we can use technology to just enhance the learning experience. And we've been thrilled actually to be in touch with some other organizations. We can't do this all on our own. And there's one called African Storybook Reader. And it's a brilliant app where you can put it on a tablet and you can select any number of languages. There's, I mean, tribal languages, not just, you know, the sort of few languages, but loads and loads of different languages, which means anybody attending a cluster could potentially, with the teacher's help, access a storybook, and the teacher could tell a story to them in their own language with pictures and other materials. So we've been looking at that. We've been looking at, can we put curriculum on a tablet? Will that work? Will it not? And even maybe we could record videos so we can do some teacher training, or when we're talking about creating a learning environment and helping the parents to teach their children at home, can we put something on a tablet that can be shown to them? So we're continually exploring. We haven't found the answer yet. We're always looking to improve. But it is wonderful to see where technology can play a part. And earlier on I mentioned scaling. You know, can we go from 10 groups to 100 to 1,000, and the number of children we access, can that grow? Well, when you use technology, scaling suddenly becomes a whole lot easier. So we're used to using technology in some of the other countries. It's great to start using it in Uganda and just exploring ways that it can help us. And I think there's more opportunities coming. So we're excited about it. It will be part of the program, I'm sure, and I'm sure it will evolve in the coming months.
I mean, having seen just some of the joy and excitement that digital stuff has brought to Bangladesh, the refugees there, it's going to be very exciting, especially with the tiny ones being able to experience some of that.
Exactly, and as we found in Bangladesh, you know, we were doing some learning with digital technology, but then it was flipped on its head when they used the very same technology to record themselves and communicate back to other groups and other classes. And who knows what the possibilities are? I think the exciting thing is if you have an open mind and you're proactive, then you will find the right answer and create some lovely sort of spin-offs and opportunities. So it's very exciting.
Lovely. Over to Gemma. You've been part of the team involved in the Their World Awards with all the banter and learning. What do you think is the most exciting and innovative thing about the project as you've been kind of like focusing on it over these last few months?
Well, I think that the judging panel at Their World may have thought the most innovative thing was the reversal of the accepted thinking across the education sector that you need classrooms to provide education. Loads of work and finance goes into trying to make classrooms more accessible to children living in remote areas, children with disabilities, girls, those who can't afford fees and suitable clothes. And it's impossible to make classrooms accessible to all those children, to make long walks to school safe. And our model takes education to them in their own communities. So it removes the need to build and equip and maintain buildings. But the thing that I personally find most innovative and exciting is the training of the parents to be more involved in their children's education and development, and supporting them to learn about why communicating and playing with their children makes such a difference to the children's development, and also to the parents' relationship with their children, which in turn helps enormously in children's development and well-being, and also the well-being of the parents. And the knock-on effect could ripple down through the generations as these children will become better parents themselves, better able to support their own children's development, having benefited from good relationships and attachment with their parents.
That's brilliant. And really exciting to think about that, you know, if we sort of go back to what Rachel was saying at the start about how important it is to have that input when children are so tiny, when they've been through trauma, but it's not just about learning, but about feeling safe in their environment. Very exciting. We've been getting lots of questions from our audience, which I'll shoot into in a moment. Is there anything else any of our panel want to add in before I dive into some of the questions? All good. You're ready for the questions. Actually, and thank you. I'm seeing a few more coming, so please do, if you're watching now's the time to kind of throw in any queries you might have about what you've been listening about. So if I ask Philip first, we've got a question from Susan asking, how do we choose who are the teachers and the facilitators, and how do we train them up? How do we choose them and train them?
If I got your question well, Esther, the teachers, we call them caregivers. These are people we identify from the community. If you look at these refugees, the type of training we take them through is not the training that will will be a requirement for them to go to classrooms. What we are giving is community child care. And these are people who have the passion to work with children, and they are always identified and brought to us by the opinion leaders in the community and the other local leaders in the community. And then what we basically take them through is we are empowering them how to handle children in a professional way, and how to nurture them to grow in their communities where they are living.
Brilliant, thank you. We've also had a question from Jane. I think it's probably Winnie, if you don't mind answering this. How do we partner with the government in any way with delivering the clusters? Or you're still on mute, I think, actually.
Partnering with government, we do work with the government bodies. They know the program that we are doing, and then they have to permit us to move on. There are conditions we work with in order to reach out to the children to do this cluster learning so that it doesn't connive with the structured learning. So the location where we put the structured, I mean the clusters, shouldn't be closer the blocks where the children are. The government definitely comes in, and other stakeholders. Before we do all this exercise, we have our plans, we share with them, and then they give us conditions such that we don't collide with other partners or with the structured learning. We work hand in hand with them. They also see the project. They see the problem with the children who don't go to school and or those who are far from the structures. So they come in and give a helping hand by allowing us to move on with the structures, with the cluster learning, so that we can reach out to that child who really needs the education, that cannot reach out to the structures.
That's
and
brilliant.
we do follow the curriculum.
Yeah.
We do follow the curriculum. So the children do go through the learning areas. Yeah.
Jane was also asking how we handled the challenges of COVID during the cluster groups. And one thing to say is that cluster groups actually came out of that challenge because of lockdown. We weren't allowed to use the buildings. So having those small groups outside was a solution. But throughout that also became an answer to reaching more children that couldn't fit into the buildings. But aside from that, I know that we've used masks. The teachers have been using masks and keeping socially distanced and probably hand washing. Is there anything else to add?
I think I've worn more masks in the last few days and had my hands sanitized more than I have from the entire pandemic, actually. So I testify that, yeah.
Very safe in Uganda.
Yeah.
That's brilliant. We've also got a question from Jenny asking how we come up with the lessons. I don't know, Philip, if you could explain how we design the lessons. Oh, you're still on mute, Philip.
You have to
Yes, Esther, thank you so much. That is a very good question. How to come up with a lesson? The lessons are derived from the curriculum, and for the ECD learning framework. So the teacher will design a lesson in such a way that they will target a particular component within the community that they want these learners to be competing on. It could be targeting the behavior of the learners. It could be targeting how they socialize with one another, their emotions, maybe want to develop their finer muscles. So it will be a lesson built alongside those lines. If you want to empower these learners in art, then you are going to engage them in lessons that involve that are working in groups. If you want to engage them in numeracy, then you have to engage them in lessons that are very lively and engaging. So lessons develop from their learning framework, which is a national and approved by the NCBC, one that is responsible for coming up with this curriculum. So this is not something that we are reinventing. We are working within the existing framework to come up with the lessons.
What are the different aspects that some of the teachers have learned that they particularly enjoy or are different to how they've been taught in other places with how to interact with children?
Yes, your network is breaking.
Oh, yeah. If you can hear me, I was just asking, what are some of the unique ways that we're training teachers in a way that's different to how they've been trained before?
Most of, okay, thank you. The teachers we are working in the clusters, most of them are new to this. Like we said, it is something that worked out the pandemic, and the teachers that were existing at the moment, they moved to areas where the learners are because of the restriction movement. So we have to recruit teachers within the communities where the learners we already are. So the exciting aspect in their training is that it is hands-on. It doesn't stop at the training. The trainers in as a lead teachers to the study point and continue to support the teachers from there. It is more of hands-on.
The 3 days they do teaching, there are teacher trainers that are visiting the clusters. So there are people going around the clusters helping the teachers on the job, helping the caregivers rather on the job. And then Thursday and Friday, there's specific training, but it's very much on, though there's, you know, the usual training and training sessions, a lot of it goes on as they teach and they get support in that. So what we're noticing is the quality of the teaching and of the caregivers, you know, interaction with the children is actually better because they're getting very much hands-on learning and support while they're doing it.
That's brilliant. Another question from Jane is, I don't know if any of you are familiar with IACT's program Little Ripples. She's asking how our program differs from that.
You know what, that rings a bell. I can't place it. It's terrible. Yeah, I think we have had interaction with them. I do know that.
Yeah.
Yeah, we've done some work with them, and I think we've even looked at some of what they've done. It does, yeah, we have. I've
just had a quick look online.
You can do it. Just a quick analysis, Gemma.
Yeah. It seems to be very similar. They don't mention anything about buildings, so I don't know if that's part of what would make us different. But we don't need to be different. They're in a different location. It looks like they're in Tanzania, Chad, Cameroon, and Greece. So as far as I can see, the differences are just location and perhaps the buildings concept.
Yeah, that's good. And we've got Susan Durston as well, talking about a child-to-child approach that they're doing in Ethiopia, which is exciting to kind of connect with other people. So thanks for joining us. Anybody else in the audience got any questions before we move on?
I think just to jump in, Esther, I think it's great to always be learning about other initiatives, and that's part of what we're doing. When you're looking at creating something new, you're continually looking at what's going on. So I think there's some great connections there that we can look at further. I think that's always part of it. And partnerships, as I think Jane mentioned, they're at the heartbeat of what we do. We're always looking to work with local partners. A lot of our curriculum and teacher training is all through partnerships, and even our funders, Lenovo and others, you find when people come together and offer what they've got, it's great. So I think it's some good things for us to look at further, and always looking to innovate and improve.
Yeah, it's exciting. A few people, Ben, have been asking in the chat about how they can get involved. So I don't know if that's a good time to talk about the different ways or talk about the big give that's going on this week.
Yeah, I mean, if anyone has any specific skills, please do get in touch. I think it's worth saying. It is also worth saying that Rachel has just got to Uganda is the first trip in 2 years. So the classic kind of response we often make is, "Oh, I'd like to get involved and help." Visiting Uganda isn't exactly the easy option, as we're making jokes with Rachel about her getting stuck in a quarantine hotel on the way back. So, you know. But that said, we're always looking for partnerships. We're always looking to get involved with people. So please do get in touch. We're always open to that. Also, the Big Give is a very timely evening to do. The Big Give is a wonderful initiative where it's an organisation that gets together funders and they create this match funding pot. And the thing is, when you're running programs in locations as we are in Chaka 2 refugee camp in Uganda, there's a cost to things. There's cost to teacher training, there's cost to the learning materials, there's cost to the loans. It's very low cost, relatively speaking, but there is still a cost. The great thing about the Big Give is it's a way that people can get involved and get a best bang for their buck. And what happens is, for the next week, from today and for 7 days, any donation made to this program is doubled by the Big Give. And what's not to love about that? It's just fantastic. And I think obviously there's gift aid that can get involved as well. So it is just a wonderful opportunity for anybody who's kind-hearted, wants to get involved with the program, wants to support some of Winnie's fantastic vision, and Philip's detail on what we're doing, the Big Give is the way to do that. And for the next 7 days, it is just, everything is doubled. And really, like I say, what's not to love? To explain more about the program and show you a little bit of video footage and all of that kind of stuff, we do have a video. I don't know if you want to cue that up now, Esther, but here we go.
Brilliant. Thanks for sharing that, Gemma. And it's great to see some of the cluster groups in action there after hearing about it as well. We have plenty more of those videos, plenty more where that came from. If you follow our Facebook or go on our website, we've been putting together quite a lot of the footage that Philip's been sending through over the last few months. So do go on and find out a bit more about that. Just while we're here, we've got another question for Philip, if you don't mind, from Anna. He mentioned the caregivers are given microloans. Are there ventures related to the cluster learning, or are they completely separate business opportunities?
We don't restrict them to venture into any project that we find will yield a livelihood for them. So we don't set rules. We set up type of business for this particular. Our aim here is for them. We don't want them to depend, to look at the community as a cow that you're going to make. They can shoot it, and then after that they can have something that they can use to feed their families as well. Because the program is free, the parents do not pay anything. So starting up a side business in any event, then it is totally up to them. We can to advise on how to run it and then how to keep it on the road.
So what are some of the different, have you seen any examples of you walking around, Rachel, the different businesses?
Lots of little shops that seem to be quite successful. And then someone had a chicken rearing business. And then they went from chicken rearing. Actually, sadly, some of the chicken got a disease and they sold the other chickens. You probably didn't need the detail of the story, but anyway. And then they moved into mobile money. And they realized there was a gap in the market, that where the part of Chaka they were living in, there was no mobile money provision. And so they started that shop. There's actually quite a few little ventures. Can you do anything else, Winnie? But yeah, I've seen lots of wonderful kiosks, and they are doing very well. I visited quite a few today, actually. And the idea is, instead of a salary is not sustainable, but an income to support the family through another means, and that's what the livelihood program's about. But yeah, I mean, the mobile money thing was very impressive. And what was the other one we visited today? Losing track, it's late here.
Yeah. Yeah, there are some of them who have ducks. They rear ducks because they know there is market for ducks there. And some of them have drinks, and they are located in areas where you find that something is lacking there. So they are strategically put at points where they can have markets. Yeah, and we can assure you the businesses are really growing, much as they were affected somehow by the COVID, but you see they are struggling to put them up and go back online. Yeah, we know they will sustain them in one way or the other.
I mean, all of the businesses I visited had identified gaps where, even if it was just a little kiosk selling everything from batteries to torches to coffee to tea to sodas, you know, there was no other kiosk in that whole area that were doing that. So they've been, you know, they've spotted the gaps in the market, and they're just little businesses, but enough to provide some money to keep them going. So.
That's excellent.
And just to, sorry, Esther, just to jump in, the last time I was in Uganda, seeing the microloans working well in Ginger, it's £40 to start a business. 200,000 Ugandan shillings is the average loan we give, about 40 quid. And it is something that small. They pay it back over 10 weeks. It's a really simple but effective program that actually, in the slums that we work with in the Ginger, has transformed the community, because it transforms the lives of the individuals and therefore transforms then the life of the community. And this is the exciting thing of, can we take that model and fuse it with a cluster learning education model, so you get sustainable education. And for me, I get very animated and excited about that, because it is a very small amount of funding that can create a huge impact. You know, businesses starting for such small amounts are quite incredible, and we've seen it work. So it's lovely to hear the similar sort of businesses in Chukka as they were in Ginger, just seeing what's needed and just providing on a very low level in a kiosk or even mobile walking around can actually change the situation. It's thrilling, really.
Brilliant. Well, Gemma's popped the link to the Big Give in the chat. If you would like to make a donation, it will be doubled this week to go towards this programme. But while we've just got a few more minutes left, we've got another question from Jenny, which was, is the long-term plan to make the sessions longer for the children, or to provide more help to parents in facilitating learning?
Probably both. Probably each session, not longer. The hour would stand. If it were ever possible, I think we'd try and offer at least 2 hours per child per week. It's a sheer numbers game as to what's possible, but certainly as much parent engagement as we can get. And if we can't get every parent engaged, we'll find other community members to engage and encourage learning in the community. We've been talking about parent champions this week, talking about people visiting people's homes. So we have resource officers that sort of do mobilisation work in the community. They can visit people's homes and help in the children's learning. So very much focusing on the home-based learning and how do we support that, even for parents who don't engage. How can we support those households? So loads of ideas. We want to start at the top, which is really try very hard at getting the parents engaged first and then move through. So both, hopefully.
Brilliant. Thank you very much. Well, if there's no other comments or questions, we'll probably wrap up soon. It's nearly been an hour. It's nearly 11 p.m. in Uganda now. So thank you so much, Philip and Rachel and Winnie, for staying up to talk to us and mean that people...
Gladys is with us, I think, tonight as well.
Yes, hello, Gladys. Gladys has a few comments in the chat, I think.
Yeah.
Gladys was on standby in case we really couldn't get through to Chapter 2. But we just about managed it. So I think that's a wrap. It's just been 1 hour, which is the same amount of time as the cluster groups, as nicely represented by Gemma's video, which we'll make sure is shareable. And the link for the Big Give is in the chat. Thank you so much, everyone, for coming. It was lovely to see you all. Thank you for all your comments in the chat as well.